What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode here on You Think. And today I'm super pumped. John Isner, a guy that is a lifelong Panther fan. We've known each other for years. It used to come to a bunch of our games. Now a Youth Inc. ambassador, obviously doing incredible content with us here on the Youth Inc. platform. But today he's here as a guest. He's here as my guest, and I'm super appreciative. And John, man, I can't thank you enough for all the work you've done with Youth Inc. over the last year or so, and also obviously for joining us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Greg. It's been really cool to be a part of this platform. You've done a great job with it, and it's growing at a tremendous rate. So to be a part of something that at its nascent level and see it grow has been very, very cool.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you being a part of it. We got a lot of fun times ahead. All right, so I'm going to be honest here. A moment of good self-awareness. I am a below novice tennis player.
Yeah.
Tennis, by no means expert. I have just got introduced to the game of tennis a couple years ago, post-retirement, to just stay active, get a good sweat, rally with the pro at my club, and just kind of stay into it. And now all of a sudden it's one of those, you start playing it, you think you're better than you are, you start watching pros, you start judging them, what would I have done? All right, so I live for Summer Wimbledon. I live for the US Open. Like, all these events that are right in this window over the next couple months are a big deal in our house. There's been a lot of iconic Wimbledon moments, big time stars, big time games. You participated in one of the all-time greatest, not only Wimbledon moments, but just professional tennis moments in history. An 11-hour match, Nicolas Mahut, Wimbledon, the whole story. I want to start there before we dive into a little bit more about just the state of tennis and Wimbledon in general. Like, talk me through that. Like, what is in your mind? You're playing 70-68 in the fifth set. Like, are you just looking at each other saying, one of us just needs to stop?
I actually was. That's exactly what I was doing, but neither one of us went away. Truthfully, Greg, that match, being a part of that match for 11 hours was completely miserable. It was nice that I won it at the end. Super relieved, of course. But you never could imagine playing a match for, let alone 5 or 6 hours. And then I was able to play for 11. It was insane. I remember prior to Wimbledon, I was home in Florida training, and it was super hot. So I felt like I was in good shape. I knew I could last, I knew I wouldn't go away physically at Wimbledon because the temperature and the weather over there in London is typically tame, and we had 3 days of like perfect weather, no humidity, no rain. So because it wasn't like the toughest conditions, I think that allowed us to play so long. Both of us were serving massive, and it was just brutal. It lasted 3 days. The first day, we ran out of daylight. And that happens all the time. Matches get suspended, so we split the first 4 sets. Not a single soul was talking about our match. We'd come back the next day, play one set. Maybe it's 45 minutes to an hour. Someone's going to move on to the second round. Well, we had about 7 hours to finish one set on the second day. So that was the crazy day. And neither one of us were able to do it. Then we had to sleep on it again and finish the match the third day. It's never been seen before, never will be seen again because the rules have now changed. At Wimbledon, at 6-all, you play a tiebreaker. It's not a win-by-2 scenario like it was in 2010.
That's so interesting. The notion that you went to bed twice during the same match is just, it's like you were playing a best-of-5 series in baseball, right? Like it's just so hard to wrap. But I want to dive. We talk a lot here about like mental toughness and preparation, and a big part of our model here on You Think is like giving people the tools to not only implement for themselves, whether they're coaches or parents, but then obviously for the young athletes who aspire to be you one day on the tennis court or the basketball court or whatever it is. Talk to me about like leading up to, throughout your entire career, you had a lot of great moments, played in every single majors event that there is. Like, obviously mental toughness in tennis seems to me as an outsider like the number one quality. A lot of guys can hit forehands, a lot of guys got big serves. The ability to battle, when you see it time and time again, the mental makeup of a tennis player. But is not any of that preparation leads you to that moment when you're playing over 3 days?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, look, you can't I trained hard physically, of course, and when you get to the top level of professional tennis, you see how hard everyone works, and you see the guys at the very top of the game, like Novak Djokovic is a perfect example. He's like the consummate professional. So what you try to do is you try to match that to give yourself the best chance to go out there and succeed. But of course, I think tennis, of course, it's not a contact sport, but in my mind, it's a gladiator sport because it's one-on-one. You don't have, especially in singles, right? You don't have teammates that you can rely on. So you have to be mentally strong, just as you said, Greg, as best as you possibly can. You don't want to show your opponents any weakness because they can pounce on that if they see that. So throughout my career, I had a lot of moments where I was very mentally strong. 2010, probably the top moment. But I also had some moments where I feel like I went away mentally. That can happen over the course of an 18-year career. But you hit the nail on the head. Everyone is so good. Everyone can strike the ball so well from the back of the court. Everyone has weapons. Everyone moves well, serves well. What separates the best players at professional tennis is their mental strength. And that's why you see someone, again, like Novak Djokovic. Yes, he has all the tools, of course, but he backs that up with probably the toughest mental game we have.
And the question that everyone has and that I have is, can you coach that? Can you train your way into that? Or is some of it just your innate personality?
I think it's a bit of both. I would say it's mostly your innate personality. It's just your willingness and your ability to go out there and compete and not give an inch, just give no quarter out there. Some players just have that, and they love that aspect. Yeah, I feel like most players do compete well. When you get to the top 100, top 50 in the world, obviously you're a good competitor, but there are a lot of players that take it to the next level. And for the most part, it's hard to match that top level of competitiveness. Rafa Nadal, who's now retired, unfortunately for men's tennis, in my mind, I'm probably a bit biased. Obviously, playing tennis my whole life, I think he's the greatest competitor of any sport in the history of the world. That's what he did so well. That's what Roger did so well. That's what Novak is still doing so well. So those guys were sort of born with that, and they trained hard. You kind of mix that all together, and it just makes a perfect tennis player.
All right, last thing I want to talk about this, because I just think the mental side of sport is so important, and as you said so perfectly, like maybe no more so important than it is in the world of tennis. Golf, people compare golf to tennis a lot. There's not the physical exertion in golf as it is just the mental focus and the ability to bounce back. But like when you guys combine a double fault and then you hit a ball into the net that should be a winner and just a bad ball strike, being able to rebound to the next while also being exhausted, while also being tired, while also having your knees hurt, like that's the combination that you guys have that's a little bit different in those one-on-one type sports. What is the mental, what is the swing thought? What is the mental thought? What is the routine? Like when all hell is breaking loose and you're exhausted and you've hit 2 out, like what was your fallback? Like what was the one thing you knew in the middle of a big moment, whether you're serving for championship point or you've got to break your opponent, whatever it is, like did you have one swing thought, pre-shot routine, pre-point routine that you knew you could always fall back on to kind of ground and reset yourself?
Well, absolutely. I did. I think tennis is much like football. After each point, you have 25 seconds to regroup, recover, and try to get ready for the next point. So I think what you do with those 25 seconds in between each point, especially in the critical juncture of a match, is so important. Going to the towel, collecting your thoughts, breathing was critical. Something I didn't really know how to do when I first started playing pro tennis. As I got older, I know that breathing and controlling my breathing helped me so much. It calms you down. There's a lot of moments in a match, whether it's at the beginning or at the end of the match, you can be very, very tense. Everyone's nervous out there, but whoever can collect their feelings the best on the court typically will do the best and probably win the match. So I would say those 25 seconds in between each point, especially at a critical juncture of a match, is so important to be able to calm yourself down so you're not too nervous to go out there and you can swing away and really just, of course, this is super cliche, but just focus on the process and not really the result. It's harder, it's easier said than done is what I meant to say, but players that can do that typically excel.
That's why I'm not a great tennis player, because I hit a ball into the net that I think I should finish, or I hit a bad forehand. 5
Frustrating.
points, 5 rallies later, I could have won all 4 of the next points, and I'm saying this set should be over. If I don't miss that overhead, that's where I would have been. That's why I'm a terrible golfer too. Like that is not my strength. I need to be better in those moments. Let's take a bigger picture now, right? Like, it's an iconic moment. It's an 11-hour match, 3 days, you win 70 to 68. You talk about within these matches, there's critical junctures, there's critical moments. Now you factor in you're playing at Wimbledon, right? Like, even as a viewer, when Wimbledon's on TV in the summer, it just looks different. It's like when you tune in to watch the Masters. It's still golf, but it just looks different at Augusta than it does on any of the other tour stops. Like, give our viewers, give our listeners an idea, for those who haven't been on the grounds of a place like Wimbledon. Like, what is it? What is the mystique and the aura of a place like that just elevates the feeling of the moment?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned Augusta. I'm actually wearing the shirt now, I just noticed that. I've had the pleasure of going to the Masters before, walking those grounds, and of course playing Wimbledon 17 times. Wimbledon is every bit as majestic as Augusta National, if not more. Everything is perfect. All the flowers, all the shrubs, all the people working on the grounds. It's so green. It's in this quaint part of southwest London. You're away from the big city. It's in this quiet little village, but all of a sudden it's the world's greatest tennis tournament right there. It is the greenest place you've ever seen, much like Augusta National. It just has so much prestige and pageantry. With me growing up, Greg, we're like exactly the same age. Yeah. I would grow up in Wimbledon used to be on HBO. So I would grow up and watch Breakfast at Wimbledon on HBO. And I just always remember that because this tournament is so iconic. It's just so beautiful to see on TV. And it's also something that the grass court season for tennis is only 3 or 4 weeks long. So it's a very short season. So obviously most of the times you turn on the TV, you're either playing on clay or playing on hard. It's the same thing over and over. But you don't see that much grass court tennis. And then especially when Wimbledon comes around, everyone's glued to their TVs. Even the novice tennis fans, because they know what Wimbledon is and they enjoy watching it because it's just so beautiful.
All right, so tell us your first time. Your first time, you know you're preparing for Wimbledon. The summer's coming up. You know it's grass court season. Take us back to that, like the emotions, the feelings. What did you do anything different in your prep? First time you walk onto the court, like just give us an idea of that moment. Take us back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be honest, when I was in college, I never could imagine myself playing Wimbledon in the main draw, let alone like 17 times. But for sure, I'd never, ever played on a grass court before. There aren't many grass courts in the United States. And I didn't really love playing Wimbledon. It's a very difficult surface to get used to. The movement is so tricky. I think the players that move the best have the biggest advantage on grass because you have to sort of run through shots, kind of stop, start, and then get back to the middle. It's a very different movement than other surfaces. So for me, being so big, I found that very, very difficult. And the ball would skid a lot lower. So I struggled adjusting to Wimbledon. But even having said that, it was still my favorite tournament all year just because the place is absolutely perfect. So, but walking the grounds and walking to your match court wearing the all whites, there's just so much tradition there. It's absolutely amazing. It's something I still miss to this day, Greg. I know you still miss competing, but like I absolutely it feels wrong that I'm not over there competing right now. But obviously you can't play forever. But those are the moments that I will always cherish. But walking onto a match court in your all whites to go play the biggest and best Grand Slam tournament we have is so special.
How much time and energy are you worried about what you wear? Like you watch all these other matches and there's different colors and guys and girls are wearing all these outfits. And then you put on Wimbledon and it's the all whites. Like, do you guys put any? If it was me, I'd be like stressed. Like, I don't want to look like an asshole, but I also don't want to look like just wearing a white tee and a pair of shorts. Like, what are you guys worried about it? Are your sponsors sending you like, hey, here's your Wimbledon outfit. You guys are going to look great. Like, do you guys put a lot of thought into that?
No, not when it comes to Wimbledon. It's zero thought. It just has to be all white. You just want it to fit well. Yeah, and Wimbledon has these rules. Like you can have like trim, like colored trim. I think the players wearing Adidas this year have this green trim on the bottom. But like they're very strict with the rules. I don't know exactly what it is, but you can't have any color. You can't wear a black wristband. They won't allow that. Wristbands have to be white. That's to match your whole ensemble. So that's the easiest tournament all year. You just want it to fit well, and you feel fresh and clean rocking the all white when you go out there to play.
Let's talk about state of the sport, especially from the American perspective, right? You know, we know the Wimbledon, you know, Americans in Wimbledon. We know the history. We know the status of both men's and women's tennis in America, and the Grand Slams and and all the concepts that get thrown around by American tennis commentators and analysts and whatnot. Give me your perspective. Obviously, growing up, playing at Georgia, having a ton of success, best player in the country, playing all these Grand Slam moments, winning events, like played for almost 20 years on tour. So maybe no one has a better idea of what the American tennis journey looks like than you. Like, for those of us who don't know it, for those of us who didn't grow up in it, like, give us an idea of maybe the differences between the American kid journey, boy or girl, growing up here versus internationally, and maybe why there are some of these differences when you put on the TV and you see so many international players and a handful of Americans.
Yeah, I just think in America, there's a lot of sports to choose from. And I think a lot of our best athletes maybe aren't gravitating towards tennis, especially on the men's side. The American women have, quite frankly, been pretty damn dominant the last 30 years. I mean, you go back to just, you're talking about all-time greats, right? Of course, led by Serena Williams. And Madison Keys this year won the Australian Open. Coco Gauff won Roland Garros this year. So the American women have always been really good.
Yep.
When I was growing up, the American men were just as good. You're like, you know, I didn't grow up in the McEnroe Connors era, but they were dominant. I grew up with Agassi, Sampras, Jim Courier. Those guys were always competing for Grand Slam titles. And it's been, on the men's side, it's been 22 years since an American man has last won a Grand Slam. In 2003, that was Andy Roddick. So all throughout my career, of course, I heard that. I wasn't able to win a Grand Slam. I was pretty close. I think right now, for the current crop of American players, in the next 3 to 4 years, we have a decent shot of finally getting over that hump. These guys, you know, getting over that hump. I think Taylor Fritz is leading the charge. He's the number one American right now. He's won 2 straight 5-setters in his first couple of matches. Now he has a pretty good draw. He might be someone that can get, I think, to the semifinals of this tournament. Once you get to the semifinals, you can certainly win it. It's going to be difficult. But certainly the Europeans have dominated, though, on the men's side, with Roger, with Rafa, with Novak, and now the top 2 players in the world, Sinner from Italy, Alcaraz from Spain. These guys are, quite frankly, they're freaks. How they move around the court, how well they hit the ball, just how athletic they are. So our American men are up against it, especially with those top 2 guys, given how young they are. It's a tall task, but I think it can be done, because on our side, on the men's side, there's about 4 players, I think, that legit have a shot to compete and win a slam each and every year for the next 4 or 5 years.
Besides just maybe more of our top female athletes gravitating towards tennis, maybe compared to, you know, some of the men you mentioned in America, there's a million options, a million different sports that the country prioritizes. But, like, is there anything else? Is there something about the training? Is there something about access? Is there something about stigma? Is there any other things you could put your finger on that say, okay, this is a way for us to kind of level out the men's side of American tennis, where instead of having 3 or 4 guys, we have 10 that can compete on the global level, similar to how we have, you know, that many in the women's side, to your point. Like, is there anything else we could do besides just the low-hanging fruit of we got to get more of our best athletes in the game?
No, I don't know. I mean, like, all the resources are available for American players to excel. The USGA does a great job in developing players. They offer free training, free coaching. So everything is there in place for our you know, American men and women to do well at the biggest stages. It just hasn't happened. Tennis is pretty cyclical. I think you can argue that the European players over the last on the men's side are just, quite frankly, a little bit tougher, hungrier. I think we're right now starting to close that gap. So there's nothing really you could do. You just need the right athlete with the right mentality, the right time to kind of sort of catch a heater. It can be done. It's crazy that no one's won a Grand Slam on the men's side in 22 years. It's unheard of. But our crop of men's players is continuing to get better and better. We have 2 players in the top 10 right now. I think 4 in the top 15. So it's not as bad as it seems to the outside. Yeah, no one's won a Grand Slam, but these players are good enough to compete, and everything is there for them. It's nothing that they don't have here in America that everyone else has in Europe. So it's just up to them to go out there and get it.
And I think the part that, especially someone who came from a very American sport that was a team sport, I think the scale in which you guys are expected to win one event, to win one major, or just win one stop on the tour, how many matches do you have to win Wimbledon? Is it 8? What is
7.
It? 7. Okay.
You got to win 7.
You have to win. Yeah. You have to go 7-0.
Yeah.
I don't think people really when you take a step back and say to win one event, to go 7-0. You can't go 4-3. It's not a best of 7. It's not a 6 the margin of victory to win is so hard. It's really unlike any other sport in that sense.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's only one winner in every single tournament. In my career, I won 16 tournaments on the ATP Tour, which I think is a lot. Yeah. But I also lost over 300 and, I don't know, top of my head, over 330 matches. Now, I won more than that, yes, but more times than not, you're going to lose. There's only one winner. So it's very, very difficult. There's only one winner in the NFL each year, Greg. I know you. So it's so difficult to get over that hump in a tournament, let alone a Grand Slam. Something I was never able to do. But just winning a tour stop is difficult. You got to win typically 5 matches to win a tour stop. I was able to do that 16 times. But again, I lost over 330 times. So tennis is difficult. You got to have a short memory, be able to delete and learn from your bad matches and just put it in the past and go forward, because there's always going to be another tournament.
Yeah, again, in our world, I had a 50-50 shot every week of coming home on Sunday night, whether I won that week's event, right? For us, it's just the one game, but that's our event of the week is Sunday. It was a 50-50 shot. There was only 2 of us, right? Yeah. We didn't have to win that game and then beat someone else and beat someone else. To win the Super Bowl over 5 months, I don't have to go 19-0.
Nope.
20, now it's, I guess, 20-0 or whatever it is.
That's right,
I don't have to win every game. I could go a game or 2 over 500 and make the playoffs and go on a run. It's such a unique sport. I think back to, you just mentioned it about as a 16-time winner, the amount of losses that are mixed in there. It's that famous Roger Federer commencement speech where he gives his overall record, and it was something absurd. And then he talks about, but when it comes down to the individual points, it was almost 50-50. He's like, I've almost lost more points than I've won overall, but I've won 80-something% of my matches. That's the margin for error that you guys are all searching for, and it's just so unique in sports.
Yeah. Oh no, the margin errors. It's so small. You talk about an all-time great Roger Federer won career points won. It was 53 or 54%. I mean, you would think it'd be 62 to 65%, right? But no, it is that small. Everyone is so good. So whoever typically plays best in the tight moments is going to come out on top. Yeah. But the margins are small in professional tennis. It's what makes it so great. And I was very fortunate to be able to compete at the highest level for a very long time.
No doubt. It's an incredible sport. It's fun to watch. It's fun to play. Let's talk about this year's Wimbledon. And I think it's been, and again, you obviously know, you've forgotten more than I'll ever know. The upsets have been the story so far early, right? Coco Gauff, some of these, you mentioned a lot of the women, how good a lot of the American women are. And there's been Jessica Pegula, a lot of the early round losses. I watched the match the other day. It just happened to be on the number 3 seed. He was the number 3 overall seed, lost in the 5th set. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Yeah, Zverev. I watched the last 3 sets. I was captivated. I didn't even really know who the guy who won was, but I found myself cheering for him. Yeah. Is there a reason for that? Is it just another example of the parity of the sport, where you don't have to be a ranked player in these big events? That there's so many good players that come from so many different areas. Is there something to it, or is it also just a little bit of a fluke?
I think right now in today's game, when I was playing, I think the top 10 to 15 players in the world for the most part of my career were a little bit of a step above everyone else. Right now, you have the top 3 guys with Novak, and Novak's not ranked number 3, but he's obviously on that list with Sinner, Alcaraz, and Novak. And then there's sort of everyone else. So there's not much difference from today's number 5 versus, let's say, number 50, especially at a tournament like Wimbledon, where the serve is so paramount. You mentioned that Zverev match. The opponent he went up against just had an incredible serving day. And on grass, when you serve well, you're going to be tough to break. Zverev was never able to break his serve, which is crazy. He's got a great return to serve. So you can run into some players, especially at Wimbledon. I think it sort of closes the margin a little bit because it's such a unique surface. And some players are just better on grass than they are other surfaces. And I think you saw that in that first round match where the number 3 seed on the men's side went out because his opponent just had a fantastic serving day. And that can happen at Wimbledon. I think Wimbledon is a tournament where you typically do see the most upsets. Not this many upsets as there were here in 2025. I think 13 of the 32 seeds went out in the first round. That's a little bit abnormal. But grass is a surface that lends itself to some crazy upsets for sure.
Why? It doesn't bounce as high, stays lower?
It stays lower. Players that know how to have good transition game and can finish points at the net. Not everyone is so good at the net, actually. And if you have a good serving day, if you have a high percentage first serve day on grass, it's just very difficult to return because once you return that first serve, you're automatically on defense. That's even if you get the return back. So Zverev's opponent served over 70% first serve percentage over 5 sets. That's a very, very high clip. Just makes it hard for you as a returner to sort of get your teeth into those return games when you have someone who's just lighting it up on serve.
But for someone like you who was so dominant with his serve and was could control a match against pretty much anyone by overwhelming them, you said you didn't love Wimbledon from the sense of the surface and the movements and all that, but when you were on, were you even more dominant to your point now? Like when you were on and you're ripping it from 6'10", you're hitting the ball, you're hitting the ball at 7 feet off the ground, straight down at these guys. Like when you were on, even though if you didn't love the movement of the surface, was that a huge weapon for you?
Absolutely. I think for me on grass, I didn't like the beginning stages of a tournament when the grass was super lush. I found it to be very slippery. If I was able to find myself and get through my first couple of rounds, the grass starts to brown out, becomes much easier to move on. It starts to play more like a hard court. That's when I felt like, yes, I was actually an extremely good grass court player. Yeah. But at the beginning stages of a grass event, I really struggled because the movement was so tough. You would slip it and sliding. Everyone slips on the grass. It just happens all the time. And I had some couple of nasty slips, and being so tall, it just doesn't really end so well if I can go down nasty on a grass court. But once it browns out, I think you see a lot more play from the baseline. As I said, it starts to play more like a hard court event. It's much easier to move on, and the ball bounces higher once it starts browning out. But at the beginning, it's tricky to move on, and the ball bounces really low, and it's very difficult to return in my mind because the ball is bouncing so low and being so tall. Obviously, that just makes it tough.
Forgive my stupid question right now, but my brain is starting to think like, all right, if I'm on really good grass, I love it, but I'm also wearing cleats. You guys are wearing different bottoms on different surfaces,
it's a great
I'm
question.
assuming?
Yeah. It's like all grass court shoes have these nubs on the bottom. They're not like your cleats. You can't wear cleats.
They're not like you can't wear like a molded bottom cleat.
No, you have these nubs. It's hard to explain. They're just these tiny hundreds of nubs on the bottom.
Okay,
of the
I
shoes.
know.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's what a grass court shoe typically is. And you can play a few matches and the nubs start to wear out. Okay, then you'll change your shoes. But no, you can't wear like any sort of football or soccer cleats.
That'd be amazing.
Not work on the grass. Would damage the court way too much. So you go with these nubs. And some of the players nowadays, like Djokovic, Sinner, and Alcaraz, the 3 top favorites, they slide on the grass.
Yeah.
On their forehand side and on their backhand side. Something I never could have ever imagined myself doing. It's a big advantage to be able to slide into a shot on your forehand or your backhand side. It just helps with your recovery so much, and they time that so well. And it goes back to my point with those 3 guys being, Djokovic is 38. He's still moving so well, but they're arguably the 3 best movers in the game, and they're the 3 best players in the game because they move so well, especially on grass court.
Yeah. All right, last topic, and I'm going to let you go, but I'm actually most excited to talk to you about this. in all other sports, maybe with golf aside, we see a huge interaction between athletes and their coaches. They're on the bench, they're on the sideline, they're in the dugout. There's constant feedback, there's constant talk, there's constant communication. I can take a mound visit in the middle of the game and I can go talk to my pitcher in the middle of the game. The defense is on the field. I can sit next to my quarterback with an iPad and a camera and pictures and really dive into what we're going to do, make corrections. You guys are out there solo. They pan to your boxes all the time. Your coach is up there. I'm sure there's some level of either silent or vocal communication, but you guys are really out there making adjustments on your own. Like, just frame that for me. It's just so foreign to what I'm accustomed to. Are you guys is your relationship with your coach kind of come to a pause for the 3-hour match? Is there some dialogue both before, during, and after? Like, give us a sense of that relationship.
Yeah, I mean, look, as you know, all the work is put in before the match. So when you go out and you step onto the court, you feel like you're the most prepared that you can possibly be to go out and excel and win that match. And for the longest time, for the first 15 years of my career, coaching was not allowed on court.
Right.
Now, a lot of times, coaches, you can coach a little bit, right? Players don't really discuss it, but you can try to get away with it. Sometimes coaches would get warned by the chair umpire for coaching, but they've actually changed the rule the last 3 years. Coaching is allowed, but at the same time, you can't go up and sit beside your coach in the box and he can't show you something on the iPad. He's just got to tell you, like, all right, I think he's going wide, and you lean wide. But for the most part, coaching is allowed now. But again, which I don't like that, by the way. I think it should not be allowed. Because I like the fact that players need to sort of figure it out by themselves on the court. But even though there is coaching allowed now, it's still up to the player to think their way through a match. On a big point, you might have to lean one way or another when you're returning on a big point. You just got to try to pick up on players' tendencies. It's very difficult. Oftentimes you're wrong, and you wish you could, I guess, go to your coach, sit beside your coach, and have him map it out for you like you guys can do on the football field. But in the one-on-one sport, I think that's what makes tennis so unique. You have to sort of figure it out for yourself out there. It's every bit as physical as tennis is. It's every bit as mental as well.
Why'd they change the rule?
I don't know. On the women's side, they've had that rule for a long time, and most of the players, in my mind, don't like it. I just, you have your coaches kind of leaning over, and you can only really talk to your player when he's on your side of the court as well. You can't scream something when he's on the other side of the court. I think it's kind of silly. I wish they would do away with that rule. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. But
interesting.
Coaching is allowed, but it's not something you see all the time. You can't go huddle up with your coach. He's just going to tell you one thing really, really quick, and you got to try to process that and implement it.
That's interesting. Yeah, man. I guess even in golf, you got your caddy. I know he's not your coach, but he still could give you a swing thought. He could still give you a line. You guys are literally out there solo mission. Well, John, I can't thank you enough. I'm fascinated by the sport of tennis, and again, as someone who did not grow up playing it, never held a tennis racket until 2 or 3 years ago. The mental challenge, the physical challenge, the looking across the net at another guy or girl and saying, like, no one's coming to save me. I'm going to bear down and beat you. Like, there is something, you said it before, it's kind of like a gladiator, like combat. It really has a lot of those nature. I give you guys all the respect in the world for what you do.
That, yeah.
And I'm looking forward to watching Wimbledon. Then we get the U.S. Open. My wife and I, every year, like, we're in August, we're going to U.S. Open, and we're going to eat our way through New York City and watch tennis under the lights. That just looks incredible.
It's great. Your former teammate, as you know, Jordan Gross, massive tennis fan.
Huge.
I've seen him at a lot of tennis tournaments. But just promise me one thing: continue to play tennis. Don't play pickleball. Okay?
Yeah.
Keep up with tennis.
I'm with
Way
you.
better.
I'm with you. I'll tell you my biggest fear of tennis. I don't even know if I want to jinx myself. Is like lower body injury. I'll just leave it at that. Like,
I know what you're talking about.
I'm not going to say it and put it out into the universe, but that is like my biggest fear of of just going out there every day and just ripping it and just going to see like how good could I get. I always ask myself, if I did it every day for a year, like get a coach, a trainer, train, do it all, like really compete at it. Like, how good could I get? But I don't do it every day, so I'll never know.
No, I know. It takes a lot of commitment. I've seen some incredible athletes be horrible on the tennis court. I'm talking about some of like all-time athletes. They don't know. Tennis is completely foreign to them. But, as long as you stay in shape and, you work on your body, which I'm sure you still do, you'll be fine. That injury bug won't find you. A good friend of mine, one of my best friends, played pro tennis with him forever, and he turned to pro pickleball. He had one of those lower body injuries that I won't speak of, and it's brutal. The last thing you want to do when you have young kids is be rehabbing when you're not active in your professional
And you're not making
sport.
any money.
You're not making any money.
You're not making any money.
Yeah. It's so like my big ass, I'm not going to go skiing or anything that I could jeopardize that. The last thing I want to do is go through rehab at 40 years old when I want to, be playing with my kids.
I couldn't agree with you more. Well, one of these days we're gonna get out on the court. We're gonna rally a little bit and play. Maybe when I get out to Dallas this year for a game.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's Greg Olsen. I just wrote the very first issue of the Youth Inc. newsletter, and I wrote it for you. Whether you're a parent, a coach, an athlete, this newsletter is here to inform, inspire, and entertain anyone who cares about youth sports. Go to youth.inc/newsletter and sign up today. It's free, it's for our community, and we are just getting started. We all want youth sports to be better. Join the movement.